Hi, Prime Minister. Joanna Smith from The Logic. At one point during the meeting in the Oval Office, the President, when talking about the tariffs and talking about a deal, also made very clear that when it comes to autos, his goal is to have car makers make them in the U.S. and for the tariffs to not make any economical sense to be made in Canada anymore. Do you anticipate lifting tariffs on autos at any point? And what did you tell him in the room about that topic?
Well, we had discussion about all the major issues in the room, so to speak, in the lunch afterwards, including autos, and specifically, without going into the full details, the strategic position of the North American auto industry, or more specifically the Canadian-U.S. auto industry, versus foreign competition, including from Asia, and how that could be enhanced. I and the Canadian government, and I would say the Canadian auto industry, I would actually say the auto industry as a whole, is of the view that Canadian auto workers, Canadian auto companies, Canadian parts companies, Canadian steel, Canadian aluminum, all play an important role in enhancing the competitiveness of American auto companies. So we will continue to press that case and look for an arrangement that takes full advantage of it for the benefit of the United States, but of course, from our perspective, very much for the benefit of Canada.
And what did he ask you about China in your closed-door meetings, and what did you tell him?
That's why they're closed door. Well, yeah. We had a wide-ranging discussion. I mean, to summarize, look, in a negotiation, you don't get like little elements of it. You get an end to a negotiation. We're having a very complex negotiation about a wide range of issues, and it's as I said before I came here, I wouldn't have expected white smoke coming out of this meeting. That was not my expectation. That because of the nature of the negotiation. So you don't expect to have specific progress as things move along, even when you're making progress, because it's a global. That's why it's a global negotiation.
Good afternoon, Prime Minister. Ashley Burke, CBC News. What specifically did you say to President Trump about lifting tariffs on Canada? And based on your conversations, what do you think it would take to get those tariffs lifted, and how long could it take?
Well, I can't answer the second part of your question because we don't make that decision. But certainly press the case in a number of areas where we think the tariffs should be lifted. And specifically, I'll give an example with respect to the scourge of fentanyl and the efforts, the considerable efforts that have been made at our border and behind the border in terms of raids as well. Huge investments in border personnel, in drone surveillance, Black Hawk surveillance, and then those are being reinforced, as you would have seen during the campaign, commitments to another 2,000 in effect, 1,000 border guards through CBSA, another 1,000 RCMP, further efforts there. And what we're seeing is huge results for this. Canada's contribution to this problem, cross-border problem, was always very small, but it's down by over 90% with the efforts. And it is an absolute focus of the government. So that is an example of where we would see the case being very strong for the tariffs to be removed. We've made that case. We'll see where that goes. In other areas, the tariffs are, in our view, not in the interests of American competitiveness and jobs. We have more work to do on making those cases on that.
Question?
Okay.
Steph didn't take a follow-up. So last question, please. Thank you.
This is Bapal Manga from the Wall Street Journal. Given what's happened with the USMCA and the tariffs that Canada is facing, how do you trust that the U.S. right now is negotiating in good faith, and how do you trust any deal you sign with them?
We'll make that determination over the course of the negotiations. I mean, that's the bottom line on that. It's a process. You see, and I would emphasize the following, which is that we have been in the process, as most would know, of an election, and so this is the point at which a serious discussion begins. And so we had the President, at his invitation, I'm here, he welcomed us. We had a very substantive, wide-ranging discussion with the President, but in the presence of the Vice President, the Secretary of Commerce, the Secretary of Foreign Affairs, and beyond, his Chief of Staff as well. Now I'm in trouble, Stephen Miller, I think that covers it. That covers it? I hope so. And we have some very specific things to follow up on and build out from that. And in any negotiation, then you make a determination based on that. It also, part of what you make a determination based on is, are the incentives aligned in the agreement that you get? And I think the lesson would be of this experience is to ensure that the incentives are aligned and durably so between the two countries, and that is a way that agreements are self-reinforcing. Thank you very much.